Hello, 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 Attitude Nation. Just going to wait a minute. Hopefully, we'll get some folks popping up to join us. Today is April the 13th day of Global Attitude Awareness Month, and Global Attitude Awareness Day is Thursday, April 15th. Yesterday, we had a little bit of a glitch. We had posted content that was meant for yesterday with today's banner. So if you were confused, that's what happened. The message was still the same about my father and the life lessons he gave us towards leadership and coaching. But anyway, Kellen Ann, what's up? How are you? Kellen Ann, if you want to do cards that wow, if you want to create empathy in people's life, Kellen Ann is somebody that you need to get in touch with, and I will get with you, Kellen Ann, on my cards. So today, boy, what a huge topic for us. Huge topic, this thing called empathy, the attitude of empathy. I would love to give yourself a score on empathy. What's your empathy factor on a scale of 1 to 10? You know, there's so much divisiveness. There's so much hatred. There's so much angst. There's so much aggression. And those are all on a scale of 1 to 10, that this thing called empathy, the ability to empathize, right? The ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Like, how are you doing with that? Because it certainly doesn't seem like a lot of people are. A lot of people are quick to judge, quick to look at a situation, but they're not quick to share the feelings of another person. Two things in that definition: ability, which means you have the possession of the means or the skill to do something. We all have the means, we all have the ability, right, to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. But you know what? So many times we rarely do it. Not only with the big issues of the day, but quite possibly with our children, with our spouse, with our customers and clients, to really step into their shoes consciously. And that's what I want to focus on today, is like for the rest of the, I guess, 17 days in April, for us to really do our best to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, no matter who we encounter. I'd love everybody to sit and talk to a homeless person. I mean, they're everywhere around here, not everywhere, but there's plenty of them. To just sit, ask their name, ask their story, and talk to them. Treat them with dignity. Give them the empathy that they need. And then share, right? To share in their feelings, which means you're contributing. So the only way you can contribute is if there's a receiver. So when I looked at empathy, I thought, wow, you know what? It does take the ability, right? It takes some skill. It's skill that we all have, but most importantly, you know, it's about a contribution, which means you're contributing to somebody. That's what empathy is about. And I thought that was so cool to learn. So that's our goal. Very, very simple, is how can I put myself in others' shoes? How can I feel what they feel? And I saw two different videos last night. One video was a New York police officer car that was rolling. And I was like, oh my God. And these kids, it looked like kids, they were absolutely yelling names. They were throwing stuffed pig animals on them. They were berating these cops. And I was sitting there going, you know, I know everybody is sitting there going, I can't believe they're doing this to live police officers. And the police officers can't get out and even defend themselves or take care of these guys. And Lord knows if there's anybody who deserves empathy both ways, it's the cops and those who they interact with. I'm not here to say who's right. I'm not here to say who's wrong. I know there's problems everywhere. But boy, with that situation, I know everybody was thinking how much it pissed them off to see cops treated like that. But I found myself thinking, what would cause these 4 to 6 kids to violently attack this guy's car, the cop's car, say what they said, and have such hatred and such horrible feelings? But then if you really look around at the world, and if you really try to get in their footsteps, who knows what could have happened to those children, their brothers, their uncles, or their parents at the hands of law enforcement, right? And so this is the step to empathy. George Nolan, a dear friend of mine, said, this isn't about black versus white. This is about black versus racism. And there is a difference. And George was on our 846 interviews on the Gap. I hope you, in the time that George Floyd's anniversary is coming up, I hope everyone goes back and looks at our 846 interviews that we did last year. Each of them received over 20,000 views and downloads. And when we think of empathy, I think the big question was, what can white people do? What should we be asking black people about racism? And Todd Fennell, my dear friend, was the one that helped me craft that question. And it's not being asked enough. So that's my thoughts on empathy for you today. And I want to just talk about maybe 3 ways to explore your empathy and improve your empathy and work with empathy. All 3 of which, I do and I love. I want you to cultivate curiosity about strangers. A lot of us do not like to talk to strangers, and I get it. I understand it. But you know what? I know that every person in the world knows something I don't. And I love the idea of finding out and learning from people what I don't know. And so cultivating curiosity requires more than having a brief chat about the weather with a stranger. Crucially, it tries to understand the world inside the head of the other person. Are you really trying to get inside the head of the other person to find out? If we're confronted by strangers every day, like, I don't know, a heavily tattooed woman who delivers your mail, or a new employee who always eats lunch alone, I want you to set yourself the challenge of having a conversation with one stranger every week through the end of Attitude Awareness Month. All it requires, well, is just a little bit of courage. So I hope that you do that. I would love to hear back from you on what you've done. Number 2, challenge prejudices over and discover commonalities, right? So we got our prejudices, we have our biases, but you know what? Let's really try to focus on commonalities when we're talking with each other, when we're engaging, to focus on common ground, not think about how I want to react to somebody that I disagree with. Highly empathetic people challenge their own preconceptions and prejudices by searching for what they share with people rather than what divides them. And so I just really, really hope that we are mindful of that and make that happen. And then the last thing is to really, really try another person's life. We can each conduct our own experiments. If you're religiously observant, you could do a religion swap, a church swap, a God swap, and attend services of different faiths from your own in your community. What a great way to figure out how other people of different faiths are working. Or if you're an atheist, try attending church, period. Or if you're religious, try talking to an atheist and see what they have to say. I want you to spend your next vacation maybe living and volunteering in a village in a developing country. Lots of spring break pictures, lots of gorgeous beaches and waters. But what truly would create more memories and more value for you than going maybe to a third world country with the Timmy Global Health Foundation and helping people? My guess would be that you're probably going to come back a little bit different. And if you got the guts to do it and the courage to do it, then maybe you should try it. Just take the path favored by philosopher John Dewey, who said, all genuine education comes about through shared experience. And so that's our challenge. Empathy, very, very courageous act. Very, very hard. I think it's the right thing. It's not the easy thing. And I hope that you will carry these empathy messages through the end of the month. This is Glenn Bill, reminding you cannot win in life. You cannot win in your relationships, and you cannot win in business unless you win in your mind first. Join us at the Attitude Movement on Facebook. Hit us at the Get Attitude podcast, and I look so forward to seeing you tomorrow.